Ranter is back to discuss the Ranter's news of the day, and I'm going to try to once again attempt to rein in myself, so we won't be having a large, free-floating consciousness of ranting hostility for over an hour. But with all so much material to go through, it's kind of hard to hold back when you just don't want to. In any event, I am going to attempt this time to do so. So I'm going to block this off in the usual attempted format of an issue for 15, another issue for 15, but then since there's so many issues, I may be doing multiple videos tonight. So, let us begin with what we saw a couple of days ago, the IG report coming down. And once again, before this thing was even posted for the public to see or for the media to report on, Bill Barr had to jump out ahead of it to say that he disagreed with some of the stuff in it. And I can see why, because when it did come out, the IG report showed that even though there was some mishandlings of items done by the FBI, the conclusion was that none of that mishandling constituted an improper start of the investigation. That the investigation itself was predicated, meaning that it was lawful and it was right to do so. There was grounds for them to investigate. So, I'm sorry to those who have the need to push the deep state that was going after Trump. It wasn't. Nope, it wasn't. But what we see in this is once again where the partisan lenses come out. Because here's what the IG report lays out. It lays out nonpartisan. It lays out where the problems were and why they justify their conclusions. So it's a little column A and column B. But the partisan lenses shows different things for different people. If you are right-leaning or full-on conservative or full-on Trump supporter, let's say, who wasn't going to believe in it anyway, what they took out of it, especially those in the politics and in the media side of that side, is that they went after the mishandlings of the FBI. There was some issues in there, and of course they go into the text message between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. That alone, we'll get into a little side tangent in, but basically all they were harping on is the problems that the IG did identify. Okay? The left, on the other hand, was those who are either, you go from the scale of far left, or never Trumpers, or just Democrats, liberals, or moderates, on that side. What they saw was the conclusion that even though that there may have been issues with how the FBI started this investigation, the investigation was nonetheless justified and predicated and kosher. So whatever was going on at the start, in the end, it was still a justifiable action to take. So there wasn't any spooky deep state thing and that they're out to get them. Alright? My take on it, I obviously lean to the left on that. I do have worry upon what's going on with certain people in the FBI that could have caused these mishaps. They always talk about there was an email that was doctored or edited, or however you want to apply the adjective to it. But nonetheless, the information proved solid enough that it was justified. The investigation was justified. They had to do it. It was right. To go into, once again, the issue with the text message between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. and their private conversation that they were having concerning the prospects of Donald Trump being elected, of them not liking the guy. Oh dear, it's terrible. Watching the Senate Judiciary hearing on this and seeing those senators gripe about this, how this was awful, this was scandalous, and thank God Peter Strzok was fired over this. They don't quite mention or kind of point out what Peter Strzok did in terms of we'll take care of it. Peter Strzok did nothing. He didn't influence this investigation all that much. In fact, when these text messages came out, Mueller, justifiable, seeing the political bias, removed him. There was no damage to be done. And Lisa Page has to get scandalized and humiliated over it when she had nothing to do with it other than listening to her illicit lover talking about this thing with her on a private conversation. I wonder how many private conversations that, say, Jason Chaffetz and Trey Gowdy had over Hillary Clinton during their investigations of her that led to nothing. But, I wonder if they were so, on the level and above board when they were talking about Hillary Clinton. I'm sure they had nothing negative to say about Hillary Clinton or their eagerness to go after Hillary Clinton or to bring her down. I'm sure it was, we're only doing this because we are investigating. It is nothing personal. There is no bias. There's nothing. We actually kind of like her. I'm sure that is how they then interacted with each other. Yet they found nothing with her. Trump, on the other hand, well, you see for yourselves. What this kind of annoys me in a manner is that it's one thing that if Peter Strzok or Lisa Page did anything to jerk the scales, to cause, fraudulent reasons why an investigation had to be done, that would be one thing. But no, they didn't. All they did was talk about Trump and their dislike of Trump and their hope that he doesn't become president. You know who else they also did that about? They did that about Hillary Clinton. I don't see or hear you talking about that. Yeah, they're not like some liberal hack case that was out to get Trump. They had political opinions on everybody. They had opinions on Hillary Clinton. They had opinions on Gary Johnson or Jill Stein. They had opinions on Trump. But since Trump is now president, and they were going after them over their text messaging, and continuing their hatchet job on them, making them into the boogeymen. And of course, I remember back then how Louis Bullshit Gomert, decided to throw in their affair in Strzok's face. I'm sure everybody on that panel are very faithful, as the President of the United States is so faithful. Hypocrisy, thy name is Jerkface. But, besides the sleaze that is, all you have is two people in a private conversation discussing their opinions on a political figure. I'm sure none of us has ever done that before in the history of man. I'm sure I have not done that on Facebook or in the groups in Facebook, nor the people I interact with on my group in Facebook do that. Right? Would you like your private conversations aired out and then taken out of context, and so to make sure that you are the boogeyman in any situation that you were involved in having an opposing viewpoint on a political figure? Now, what happened to Peter Strzok was actually justifiable. Mueller made sure to remove him once this was known, to wipe away the appearance of impropriety, that there could have been a bias, that he could have manipulated something. He didn't, but the possibility was there, and the appearance of the possibility was there, so he was removed. That's justifiable to take him off the case. Everything else that's happened after this, towards him and towards Lisa Page, is bullshit. It is utter bullshit. It is public humiliation from hypocrites that are blaming them, and how dare they have these opinions and showing their biases in a private conversation. When Lindsey Graham brought this up yesterday in his, as he's head of the Senate Judiciary, and scolding them and how biased they are, how much they hate the president, that is so stunning. Because once again, we are hearing this information which is retroactive. This came out in 2016. All this text message, all this stuff, all that happened then, right? And I was flipping through the internet, and I found this thing because I don't watch like regular TV. I don't watch like the night talk shows all that much. So I saw this strand from Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel brought this up, and Jimmy Kimmel showed another person at the time that was hating Donald Trump and was really pretty vocal in public about hating Donald Trump. And who that was? That was Lindsey Graham. And Lindsey Graham had a whole lot to say about Donald Trump in 2016. Pretty much as scandalous as two people were having a private conversation about. Jimmy Kimmel showed a whole montage of what Lindsey Graham had been saying from show to show to show to show, from the point of him running for president himself to him getting out of running for president himself, and then just voicing his opinions upon what Donald Trump is and what the Republican Party will be under Donald Trump, that it will be destroyed and they will have deserved it if he became the nominee, which he did. But then again, of course, years later, obviously, Lindsey Graham is so impressed with Donald Trump's golf swing that now he is one of his, one of his finest cheerleaders. Hypocrisy, thy name is Jerkface. For scolding people who are sharing the same opinion as you did in 2016. All you have on these people is having a bad opinion on Donald Trump in a private conversation. You do not have them doing anything about it. You do not see them jerking the scales on anything. And you see that Peter Strzok was removed from the case when this came out. But no damage was really done. They didn't really do anything. It was lamenting over the prospects of him becoming president, which they did with Hillary Clinton. Again, it is one of those things where you see people do this, behave like this, like Lindsey Graham, and show that there is such a thing as retroactively rewriting reality. To cast blame on these two for doing in private what Lindsey Graham was doing in public is ludicrous, is shameful. It's fine to change your opinion on somebody. It's fine. Lindsey Graham now likes Donald Trump. Fine. He likes him so much to the point of debasing himself in the memory of John McCain, who Trump goes after, and John McCain was his best friend, and fine. That's fine. But to blame other people for the behaviors and opinions that you shared, as if you never had them beforehand, That is political double talk. That is ridiculous and pathetic. And the last thing we'll do on this issue with this, with Lindsey Graham, it reminds me of how he behaved in 1998 when he was pushing for the impeachment of Bill Clinton, where he suggested that if a president of the United States withholds testimony or compels people not to testify or give evidence, if he all that is considered obstruction, and that obstruction can be articles of impeachment. Okay? Said that in 98. But now his golfing buddy is on the block for impeachment. And all of a sudden, what he said in 98 doesn't matter. In fact, when you bring up what his statements of 98, he just sort of waves it away and then he walks away from the argument. You cannot stand by your words. And not just talking about Lindsey Graham here, though this is the focus point, but in a grander sense, anyone who runs into politics, anyone who's going to run for president of the United States, that we've been seeing a few has dropped out, and a few skeletons has been revealed from the closet. Or for this one little segment for the Democrats, I'm going to talk about them in another video. But for this little moment, everyone got skeletons in the closet. When you're running for president, the microscope is on you. All your past statements, all your policy points, all your voting record, anything you've done in the capacity of any other position that you're using to tout as a reason why you should be president, that gets blown to light for all to see. And you better have a good answer, and you have to be ready to answer it. Because if you're not ready to answer the questions that will be coming towards you over your past deeds, past statements, past voting record, then you're going to stumble. And people will watch you stumble, people will post you stumbling, and there will be panels of people on media shows articulating how serious of a stumble it is. We'll get to them later. But, segue out of the IG report and the political lens of what both sides are seeing and both sides are paying attention to. Let's go right into impeachment and how this is going to play out. There are now currently, as I'm look over here and I'm watching some of the footage of the House panel discussing and debating the articles of impeachment. On a party line vote, the House impeachment vote is going to be tonight. More than likely, Donald Trump will be impeached in the House. What does this mean? That impeachment will now be on the record of Donald Trump. He will join the ranks of Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton at being impeached. Nixon would have been there, but Nixon was smart enough to resign before we got to that point. But for those who are not initiated as deeply into politics as I am, and you go, what does this mean? Is he going to get removed? He's going to get gone? No. All right. The impeachment in the House is the one thing. That's the House gathering the information and drafting the articles of impeachment. They vote on it. If it goes through, then it goes to the Senate. And then the Senate actually takes it and makes it into a trial. But here's the thing, my impeachment hopeful people out there. He is not going to be removed. I'm not trying to burst any hopeful bubbles here. I'm trying to give you a dose of reality. He is not going to get removed by the Senate. I've been saying this for many videos now. Some on YouTube, and those prior to YouTube when I've been just posting these on Facebook. He won't be removed. This Republican Senate, in control is not going to remove. You need 2/3 of the vote of the Senate to remove him. And if you get all the Democrats, you're still going to need 20 plus Republicans to vote for impeachment. And at best, you might have 5, maybe. There's been a lot of talks in some articles upon, inside the Republican Party in the Senate, there is a growing group that is in favor of impeachment and removal. They may talk about it privately, they're not going to do it publicly. And why? Because they're so beholden to the Trump base to get reelected that whatever they feel their personal inclinations and their personal morals and their personal standards, they're setting that aside. Like everything else that happens in politics, every moral, every hard and fast rule of personal conduct that you have, that you believe in, all of that is negotiable in politics. I mean, you see that. I repeat that multiple times when you see people who tout their religion and tout how moral they are and their religious stance and how devout they are, but then they have to support a plutocratic, hedonistic, unqualified, disqualified piece of shit. And not only they can't prove, not only they have to defend him, they have to double down and defend him by trying to deify him. We've already seen Nikki Haley and Rick Perry say that God had thrusted upon Donald Trump upon us, that it was God's will that he became president. Maybe Donald Trump is like the 8th plague of the 7 plagues. That he just wasn't born yet for him to unleash upon the people of Egypt. But guys, gals, Klingons who are going to invade because we have a Space Force now. He doesn't care about your belief. He can barely pay lip service to your belief. 2 Corinthians walked into a bar. But because of politics, your devout personal belief is negotiable. Negotiated it away to prop him up, to deify him. There it is. So the Republicans that could be in the deepest dark of their souls know that this guy is wrong, that he is shitting on the United States and the Republican Party. No matter how much you support him, just the more antics that he does, and the more those antics not only reflect upon him, but you for supporting him. You still do it because you're fearful of losing your power, you're losing your seat. But here's how things are still kind of messed up. That, you could have it that, the Senate finally gets this, and the Senate does their trial. Mitch McConnell wants this short and sweet, because he just wants to quit and move the fuck on. I don't exactly blame him for that, because compared to what certain people want done, I'd rather have that too. Because these people want to do, they want to do a clown show to try to defend Trump. We need to subpoena Hunter Biden. We need to subpoena the records of Burisma. We need to subpoena Joe Biden. We need to do all this. We need to make this spectacle. Ah. Yeah, unnecessary stuff that has nothing to do with Donald Trump being impeached. Oh yeah, what about Hunter Biden? He sat on the board of a gas company. He was making $50,000 a month. Rudy Giuliani's son is working in the White House as some sort of liaison to the sports industry to the White House. In essence, the son of Rudy Giuliani is going to make $90,000 to talk about sports. And you all complain about Hunter Biden. Yeah, yeah, sitting in a gas board. Yeah. Doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, that has never happened in the history of man. So much to talk about, so little time. But they want to make the spectacle. They want to make this grand showing just to appease him. He's not going to get removed. He's going to get acquitted, but instead of it being a short and sweet little thing that we can just push back by January, they want to have the show. Those serious Trump loyalists and Trump wants to have the show. Because they know the ball is in their court now. And not much the Democrats can do in the Senate. You know, you can tell in the past 3 years, anything that goes wrong, that gets messed up, that this administration does, and you hear it all but pleading to them not to do it, and just ignore it all for the sake of power, for the sake of not pissing off the Trump base. You know, my stance on impeachment never really wavered. I didn't really fluctuate it too much. Um, I knew that I knew what the ending was. You know, it was like a spoiler alert. Unless something really, really compelling was going to happen, it wasn't going to go anywhere. And over time, that we saw the evidence mounting up of the stuff Donald Trump was doing on the Ukrainian call, the quid pro quo that did exist, that only didn't because he got caught. All this mounts up. So many people testifying. So many people laid the groundwork of a timeline. The things that we find out from watchdog groups that got the information out of the State Department through the Freedom of Information Act. Stuff that they were denying the media and denying Congress, they managed to get. To prove that Rudy Giuliani was on the phone and talking with Mike Pompeo when they were starting the smear campaign against Yanukovych, who was the ambassador of Ukraine, who did nothing wrong to be removed, but instead of her just being fired because ambassadors serve at the pleasure of the president, instead of just firing her, they smeared her. And he smeared her on that call for nothing. She didn't do anything wrong. He didn't even accuse her of doing anything wrong. Did you actually hear like what she did or what she didn't do? I mean, you know, a week or so ago we saw Trump complaining about her that she didn't put his picture up. His picture in her office. He complained about that in public. A fucking child. Which she did. She did do, actually. Because, you know, that's what you do. You know, the next president comes in line, you put in that president's face. Because, irregardless of who the president of the United States is, they're still representing the United States of America. So, yeah, you put that picture up there. And what? There was a timetable? It was nonsense bullshit, contrived excuses. But that's what you have in this president of the United States. Bullshit and excuses. Alright. This is me reining myself in. I will be back with more, because the urge to rant is rising, and we're just gonna have to keep going. Just gotta keep going. I'll see y'all next time. For me, maybe a few minutes, because I'm probably gonna do another one of these. But you, maybe a few hours, because uploading this is hell. YouTube just takes its sweet ass time. Boop, 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 boop. Whatever. Have a good night. Till next time.